Mr. City Manager, we are ready.
Mayor, members of the council, good evening, and thank you very much. We have 2 study session items for your consideration tonight, and I start by asking Chief Ferris to step forward to the podium and give us an update on what's been going on in the police department.
Mr. Mayor, we'll try to get through all this in my allotted time. Just a quick overview of some of the things that have been going on in the police department, largely with the reorganization and restructuring of the department. Started as a police chief in September and really began the kind of evaluation of practices, personnel assignments, and responsibilities pretty much on day one. At that time, we still currently do operate under 2 different divisions: the patrol division, which was formerly the police field services division, and support services. Each is commanded by a police captain. Captain Brian Boydston was promoted a couple of months ago and commands the patrol division. Captain Carl Burris was brought in from the outside and now commands the support services division. A lot of the reorganization had to do with span of control under these 2 divisions to really look at the vision for the department that I had for the future, the direction that we wanted to take, and we do have an attached organizational chart that you can do as well. Just a little bit of a highlight on the 2 divisions. Patrol includes mostly the uniformed personnel within the department, which includes the 4 patrol teams that cover the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One of the resource officers in the patrol unit, and Austin support services division, contains the criminal investigations unit. The impact unit that was started right before I started here. A newly created professional standards and training section, which I'll get into in a couple of minutes, and a newly created administration section, which I'll the impact unit is run by Sergeant Steve Greenwood. They are primarily focused on street crime and type offenses, and will augment the criminal investigations unit with follow-up investigations, locating suspects, surveillance, which we have to do quite a bit of the last couple of weeks. And they'll also coordinate our community policing efforts, focusing on apartment communities and using data to drive our enforcement efforts. Professional standards and training was one of the newly created units. I wanted to have kind of a central location that would coordinate not only training but also investigate use of police use of force, citizen complaints, and internal affairs investigations, rather than that being kind of dealt out to the different sergeants. It's really one-stop shop because training and those issues really go hand in hand. Generally, when you're investigating use of force or internal affairs investigations or police misconduct, whatever the case may be, generally there's some kind of a tie back to training. Whether we need more training or we failed in training or they're not responding to training. So now we have really one point to focus on all that under one person. Chris Smith is the supervisor over that. And then we also moved Andrea, who was training coordinator. We reclassified her as our accreditation manager, which was formerly one of the sergeants. Now we have the ability to have some consistency in that position. If I end up moving sergeants around at some point, I don't have to make a loan that we have a foundation for that very important position. So those 2 right now make up professional standards and training, and they handle all those things. The other new creation was the administration section. This will fall under the support services division and is supervised by a civilian manager. So I gave up one of the 8 sergeant spots when Captain Boydson was promoted, and that freed up a spot to bring in a civilian manager that now supervises communications unit, property and evidence, and the records unit. Basically all of our civilian support staff minus animal control, which is still under defense control. They'll also oversee the DIPS program, and as that continues to grow, we've grown quite a bit through this. This structure is based on our current staffing levels. Any future reintegration of other specialized needs that we had in the past, traffic unit, policing, any other things, or even just reassigning people to backfill a couple of detective positions we're still down. That'll all be evaluated as we get back to full staff. Everything that we've done so far is cost neutral. So it was basically just moving chess pieces and reassigning roles to different individuals. Some notable changes that you may have already seen already or heard about include some of the things like a biannual fleet inspection. I've been really happy to be partnered with Tim and Public Works Department on that to maintain our fleet. We're going to do a biannual complete head-to-toe inspection of the vehicles with Public Works right next to it. Rather than us just making a list of stuff and trying to explain it, we've got the experts right there to go, okay, this we can fix right now, or this we need to get it in. Development of an ammunition management plan. Our ammunition supply was incredibly low based on what our needs would be. And the other thing that's very worrisome is, in just my experience, you have one significant event. We had another school shooting and issue. Every one of those events creates a supply shortage because of panic buying and frenzy buying. There was a time after the Connecticut shooting where we couldn't, agencies, not just here, we couldn't get ammunition for almost 2 years. Well, we don't get to stop, we don't get the luxury of going, we'll just stop training. So what we're in the process of doing right now is kind of reallocating some of our budget to getting that ammunition plan built up and getting a supply that will sustain us if we have one of these catastrophic events wherever it happens in the country, and making sure that we can continue to train and out the restructuring the animal control unit and the shelter. So obviously we no longer have an animal control supervisor, but we will be adding a third person. So we're doing a hiring right now. We've got 2 very viable candidates that are in the background and various stages of the application process. So the goal is to get 7-day-a-week coverage instead of Monday through Friday with extended hours during the week. So we can actually keep the shelter operating longer periods during the day and also have weekend coverage. Well, now we're paying people to come in on overtime just to feed animals, and we don't need to do that. We actually need to have somebody on the street. So that's kind of been a big project, I guess, if you will. And then changing some things at the shelter to make it a little bit more user-friendly. And we've instituted some volunteers up there that are already have been a huge asset. Where we've got people that were wanting to come in and commit time to helping us find shelter, walk dogs, clean. All available on-duty personnel now attend all scheduled lockdown drills at the leave the schools in the city. There's, kind of a twofold benefit to that. One, it lets our officers be seen by the students and the teachers, and it lets our officers get a lay of the land. The first time we see the layout of the school should be if there's something bad happening. So if I'm not committed to anything, or the command staff, or the sergeants, or any patrol officers, or the detectives, I think we did St. Andrews a couple of weeks ago, and I think we had probably close to 20 officers wandering around that school. It was kind of nice. So that we're really kind of stepping up how we're going to respond to things like that. Research and development of a Citizen Police Academy. We're in the process of that. I've had Chris go out, and he's visited several other CPAs around the metro. I was really kind of shocked that there's really only like 1 or 2 agencies on the Missouri side. The Kansas side includes almost every department that does it. It's great for building community support for law enforcement and through education. So they get a little taste of everything that we do within the department. Our first one's going to be kind of a maiden voyage. We're handpicking kind of a pilot group so that we can get some good feedback from people we know that will be honest with us and help us develop that. Crime victim notification letters are now going out to anybody that has a crime reported that's inactivated or closed, instead of it just kind of hanging out there and them not knowing what's going on. We're generating letters now letting them know that we've inactivated your case because it's not solvable or we ran out of days. To let people know what's going on with their case. A proposed new vehicle graphics package. If you look at one of your attachments, you'll see that this is one of the things that came from the officers and the staff wanting kind of a new look. For me, it's a no-brainer because it's about $300 to $500 less to do this than it is to wrap a door or paint a door or whatever. It gives a nice clean look. It helps us with resale. Those white doors, the wraps just don't hold up. They get beaten down when the cars are full of air. So this kind of came, we put it out and let them vote on it and come up with their own ideas. And I personally think it's a really sharp way to put the police department. hopefully we'll have your approval on that initiative, and we can move forward with that. In conclusion, just, really we do have certain challenges in the organization side, how we manage and supervise people, because we're having a lot of new ones. A lot of emphasis in this reorganization will focus on operating efficiently and utilizing the best people in the right position. Some were automatic assignments that I wanted made. Others we've done selection processes and put people through interviews and things like that. Collateral duties are encouraged and serve as a means of developing employees. Gives us an idea of how they lead projects or handle projects, engage future leadership through taking ownership and things like that. And employees end up getting a kind of a pride in ownership that I've discussed with you all in the past. Helps us to build a succession plan once we identify talents of our employees at different levels of the organization. We began from a position of strength, in my opinion, in that we have outstanding people, great deal of motivation at all levels of the organization. When I walked in the door, I was really refreshed at how anxious people were just to kind of move forward. That allows for much quicker implementation of change, and a great deal has already been accomplished with the help of our president and other officers and staff. And with that, I entertain any questions or comments you might have.
Questions?
Yeah. Just a quick question, or comment. I loved everything that I've seen that you have done since you've gotten here. I just wanted to comment, particularly like your emphasis on the animal shelter. I think we've all been frustrated about various things involving the animal shelter and operations at different times. I've been very frustrated trying to get people there on the weekends, which is when people come looking to adopt animals, and we've had a heck of a time trying to provide coverage on weekends. It also seemed like a real natural thing for the use of volunteers. It was explained to me that having volunteers work at the animal shelter is a little bit more complicated than normal volunteer assignments through the city, but it still seemed like a natural, and we had a lot of people that wanted to work there in any capacity they could help with. So both of those were fitting in just perfectly with what you've been doing. So I really appreciate your focus on that.
I encourage you to stick your head in there.
Thank you.
Good.
I just have a quick question, Chief. Could you just explain, like, 30,000 view of the Citizen Police Academy? Just give me a little bit idea about that.
So this is something that's been around for a while. When a good part of the time I had up on Exeter, we ran Citizens Academy. Basically, if you live or work in the city, you'd be allowed to apply to attend the academy once a week for 10, 12, 14 weeks, whatever we come up with. They'll meet in the evening for a couple of hours, and different factions in the department will rotate through. So one night they'll get 2 hours of training on what criminal investigation is. They might have an hour of animal control. They may go take a tour of the jail. It's basically just to give a glimpse of what everything is that we provide from within this department. And kind of an education of what the police work really is and life. So, some of it's templates that we'll take from other agencies, but we'll put those touch on it. They'll get exposed to how we investigate these reports. What is defensive tactics training? What is a firearm simulator? And it's really just a glimpse, a snapshot of what the entire department does. And when they finish, we'll give them a certificate, and they'll be graduating. And then hopefully we generate, future volunteers from programs like that. And one thing that's the benefit we can't put a price on is when, there's the naysayers out there that want to defund your whatever. We've got a group of people now that truly understand what we do in this profession, and they're usually going to do that.
So does that feed into VIPs at all?
It could. That's what I was saying before. Once we have graduates from that program, we could start feeding this program or even growing it. So we have volunteers like doing other things, or maybe we actually have them scheduled to do more things. So that's our plan, is to help grow that program through something like this.
Great work, thank you.
I would just like to ask that you keep us informed of major training opportunities that your staff's involved with, emergency operation exercises if you have those annually, or Milo if you bring the Milo trainer back in, just to keep us informed. We may want to stop by and observe, maybe even participate.
Yeah, I know the Milo, I think we're working on that as being part of this year. I'll be one of the nights and we'll run people through that. I believe a couple of you have been asked to go through the first group, and then our hope is that at some point all of you go through that program as well. It could be a nice place.
Thank you for what you've done.
Mayor, does the council have any input on the graphics package of the police car?
I think it's very attractive. I like it. I definitely like it better than the white wrap doors, because I've seen those up close and they look terrible. So yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, item number 2, I'd like to ask Finance Director Dominic Curso to make the next introduction.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So currently I am running through and putting together, writing the financial statements for the 2021 fiscal year audit. Tonight we have a representative with our auditors, BT & Co. They're just going to kind of go over the letter that was included in your packet. It is the letter with those charged with governance. I always get that name wrong, but it's close to that. Along with that is a copy of the management representation letter, which basically has us, my signature, and Scott's signature, saying that everything we presented is correct and is true to the best of our knowledge. Before I introduce Emily, I would like to say thank you to BT & Co. and staff. They're a great group to work with. They've been with us for quite some time now, and they do make this process good. Also, I'd like to thank our staff. They've done a great job with this. This is not an easy process. It's very takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. Robert Daniels, the accountant, Charlie Leslie and her staff have done a great job supporting this effort. So with that, Emily Sheldon, manager at BT & Co.
Thank you very much, Dominic. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. You have received, as a part of the meeting packet this evening, a draft of the letter addressed to the Mayor and City Council. The letter summarizes matters that we are required to bring to your attention about the financial statement audit. For my presentation today, I'll be going through the main points of that letter. Our responsibility is to perform an audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States, the provisions of the Single Audit Act, Uniform Guidance, and the OMB's Compliance Supplement. Those standards require us to perform procedures to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. Our procedures include examining evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. We also review the accounting principles used and the significant estimates made by management, as well as evaluate the overall financial statement presentation. We are pleased to report that as a result of our audit, we determined that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. And when we finalize the audit, we will be issuing an unmodified audit opinion, which is the best kind of opinion that the city can receive. In the Accounting Policies and Practices section of the letter, we would bring to your attention any changes in existing accounting policies or newly adopted accounting policies, significant or unusual transactions, or any alternative treatments from GAAP. There is nothing to report in those areas. On the page 2 of the letter, we discuss management's accounting estimates. The city has significant estimates that are summarized in the Summary of Significant Estimates section of the letter. The total OPEB liability and the net pension asset. Our job as auditors is to analyze the processes that the city has in place to record these estimates. And as a result of our work, we concluded the city's estimates appear reasonable. We did make audit adjusting entries as a result of our audit that are summarized at the very end of the letter. These adjusting journal entries are what we call entity-wide adjusting journal entries, and they are standard entries that are prepared solely to convert the city's fund-level financial statements to the entity-wide financial statements. In the final sections of the letter, we would bring to your attention any concerns or issues that came to our attention as a result of disagreements with management, consultations with other accountants, or other significant issues or significant difficulties encountered in performing the audit. And we are pleased to report that there are no matters in these areas that we need to bring to your attention. Finally, we have attached a copy of management's representation letter. This letter is the final step in the process of an audit and puts into writing matters that are required by our standards to be represented to us by management. The signing of this letter represents management's acceptance of the financial statements and is an indication that the audit report is ready to be finalized. We provide this letter to you because we believe it will help you, as a governing body, better understand the financial statements and the matters underlying the financial statements, and will help you fulfill your fiduciary responsibilities. The achievement of an excellent audit result, such as the city's, is a testament to both the city's preparedness for its audit, as well as maintaining good processes and controls throughout the entire year. As such, I'd like to thank Dominic, Robert, Charlene, and the rest of the city staff for their assistance this year. With that, are there any questions?
Questions? No. Emily, no, we don't. And Dominic, for your staff, please send them from us pats on the back for the hard work. Audits are huge. Thank you, Emily.
Mayor, that concludes our study sessions for the evening.
Thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break and get started at 7:30. like to call the meeting to order for this evening. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Monday, December 13th, 2021 regular meeting of the Gladstone City Council and call this meeting to order. I look down at our clerk, and I would like for you to note that we do have all of our City Council members are present. We do have a quorum. At this time, I'd like everybody to please stand with me for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there anyone on the City Council who wishes to make a change to tonight's agenda? Okay. Seeing none, the agenda will stand as it was presented. Fifth item is the approval of the minutes from the November 8th, 2021 closed City Council meeting. May I have a motion?
Mayor Mellons.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I move to approve the November 8th, 2021 closed City Council meeting minutes.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the November 8th, 2021 closed City Council meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Same sign. The minutes are approved. Sixth item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the November 8th, 2021 regular City Council meeting.
Mayor Mellons.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I move to approve the November 8th, 2021 regular City Council meeting minutes.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the November 8th, 2021 regular City Council meeting minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we'll ask our clerk if you will please explain and read the consent agenda.
A consent agenda allows the City Council to consider and approve routine items of business without discussion. Any member of the City Council, the City staff, or the public may request removal anytime from the consent agenda and request that it be considered under the regular agenda if discussion or debate of the item is desired. Items not removed from the consent agenda will stand approved upon motion by any council member, second and unanimous vote to approve the consent agenda as published or modified. Resolution R-21-54, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a settlement agreement and mutual release with North American Specialty Insurance Company for final payment in the amount of $25,524.42 for work completed on the 2019 Water Main Replacement Project WP 1986. Resolution R-21-55, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Mega KC Corporation in the total amount not to exceed $281,250 for the Carriage Commons Drainage Improvements Project CP2132, pending concurrence from the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. Resolution R-21-56, a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract with Spectrum Enterprise for fiber internet service. Resolution R-2157, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management for acquisition and disposal of vehicles. Consider building permit, van Subaru 90 Northwest Vivian Road. Ratify special event permit, Atkins Johnson's Farm and Museum, Cookies with Santa, Saturday, December 11th, 2021, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Consider financial report month end October 2021.
Thank you. Is there anyone within the audience that would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda for discussion? Seeing none, City Council? Mr. City Manager?
No, sir.
May I receive then a motion?
Mayor Mellon.
Yes.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as it was listed. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as listed, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The consent agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda is the communication from our audience. Members of the public are invited to speak about any topic that's not listed on tonight's agenda. When speaking, please step to the podium. State your name, your address for the record, and then please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Jim.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Oldebecken. I live on 76 Terrace. I have a lot I want to cover tonight. I'll get right into it. I'm a citizen of Gladstone. I have been for 21 years. This is where my home is. As many of you know, one of my primary life goals and purposes is to help my community prepare to have one of the grandest 250th celebrations of the Declaration in this region. Not just a celebration with more fireworks, bigger bands, more beer. My hope is for a spark in democracy restoration at the citizen level. I like what Presiding Commissioner Jerry Nolte gave as his definition of democracy, where citizens are informed and involved in their government. Recently, I think it's Brian Williams on NBC signed off and made some really powerful statements about our country and his concerns. I recommend that everyone check it out. It has to do with democracy. What concerns me are two things at the local level. One has to do with citizens attending these meetings. I was looking at some minutes from a few years ago in reference to the gift that enabled us to have Hobby Hill Park. And I was impressed with the number of citizens. January 28, 1974, a Mrs. Patricia Wymore on North Walnut commented about Prospect Plaza Shopping Center and the twin indoor theaters they were proposing to put in. Mr. Kelly Dye from North Walnut was concerned about a recent fire at 72nd and North Oak and had questions about training. And then Mr. Ralph Maddox on 71st Street expresses appreciation to public safety for an officer who had helped him in December when he had taken ill while walking. The officer took him home, expressed concern, and then called him back later to see how he was doing. And there were others. We have rights. We have those rights, I think, are responsibilities too. Under our First Amendment, there are 5 after religion: freedom of speech, freedom of the press, assembly, and to petition government. And as far as, I think this is the most sacred place, one of the most sacred places in Gladstone. This is where it happens. And citizens should be aware of what happens with their government. And there's no better way to do that than in person. And I think in some ways our difficulties with citizen involvement here, as well as the lack of a newspaper, contributed to the problem we had with a kind of a languishing issue from one citizen who's been in this room often speaking about his personal concerns, his demands of the city. And that has resulted in today, 3 years later, after he started discussing this in front of the city council, with us having a lawsuit that was filed in January this year for $150 million. That concerns me. These are props. That's a lot of money. I think for some citizens, $150 is a lot of money. $150,000 is a lot of money. $150 million is a real awful lot of money. It's almost absurd. But it is an issue. It's been an issue for a year, and I believe there are consequences. I've not heard this from the city, but I believe there are consequences for being so focused on one citizen, exorbitant demands. But maybe this is a time when we can benefit from this low spot by citizens becoming informed of this issue. I'm running out of time. Can I have an extra 3 minutes?
I have you scheduled until 7:45. You've got 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. There are, because citizens have not been here, they largely in this community do not know about this situation. It's a real situation. It's a real lawsuit right now in the 7th Circuit Court of Clay County. Some people are aware, most are not. That is my big concern. I have focused myself between Veterans Day and the end of the year to help our community become aware of this, holding back a lot of my personal viewpoints because it's just a simple thing. This happened. This is your opportunity to be aware and then to be informed, and then if you want to be involved, be involved. There's a packet I have. I'll leave you with a copy of it that I've been taking and distributing in the community to businesses and to homes, especially around North Oak and that area. Very quickly, $150 million. I want to stay on that just for a moment. I want people to remember that. That's a real number. That's in the suit. And this, by the way, I guess, is worth $750,000. So take about 200 of these to satisfy that demand if that was ever required. But there's so much in this. I spent a lot of time reviewing public documents, and in particular the ones he received. I question whether this, and I think we all should wonder whether this is really even a cave. A cave by definition is something that you can walk in to explore. Public records. Here's a map of that cave from the Missouri Geological Society from 1971. The average height, vertical height of that cave at that time was approximately 3 feet. 48 years later, well, I'll just say it's about 2 feet. So there's a little incremental little change that happens over the years as a result of rainwater runoff into that cave, but by and large, it is as it has been, as far as this document and my understanding of it. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of the cave. There's a picture of it. I was there once when I was invited to go there, and I did, and I almost went in to that opening, but I decided not to. In fact, from the once Mr. Bateman referred to a child being killed in that cave coming from Hobby Hill Park. According to this Geological Society, here's the various hazards: getting lost, running out of light, hypothermia, passages, flooding, falling rocks, poor footing falling down pits. In this case, one of the surveys that was done showed that there was so much carbon dioxide in there, it exceeded the meter. A person could die in there readily. I don't know how this really qualifies as a cave. The comment about peacefully enjoy, there's no home on that property. There are no improvements. There's only 2 feet tall that you can get into it, so I don't know how you peacefully enjoy a cave that's about this tall and goes deep into a hill. Flooding, he reports flooding. There has been no reports of flooding to the homes that are where people actually live on the street. It goes on. I encourage you to continue to monitor this and review any public records that are available. And my hope is that this can be gone soon, if not by Christmas, shortly thereafter. And I appreciate your attention to this and your time right now.
Thank you, Jim. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the City Council this evening? Okay. We're going to move on to the 9th item, which is the communications from the City Council. And first of all, we have plaques here for 2 individuals that are stepping down from being on one of the boards of the commission from the city. We had Sid Robbins, who's been on the Arts Commission for many, many years. We all know Sid. He's a wonderful individual. He's done great things for our city, but we have a plaque here for him. And also then Lauren Croman, I believe, Parks Board. And she's been on it for several years. Again, individuals give up their time to serve on the boards and the commissions. We also have new appointments and reappointments to the boards and commissions. And what I'd like to be able to do is read the names and then ask for a motion to approve. The Arts Commission, we have a reappointment of Mary Ann Cascone. Capital Improvements Program, reappointment of Michelle Sanderson. Code of Board of Appeals, reappointment of Ken Christensen and Dennis Garrison. Environmental Management Advisory Committee, reappointment of Julie Kahn and George Smith. Neighborhood Commission, John Day. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, we have a reappointment of Jason Sharpstein. And we also have a new appointment of Eric Woods. Planning Commission, reappointment Mike Ebenroth, Alicia Homan, Katie Middleton, and Kim Murch. Those are the reappointments and the new appointments to boards and commissions. And if I could I get a motion to approve those?
Mayor Mallon.
Councilmember Moore.
I move to approve the reappointments and new appointments to our boards and commissions.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the new appointments and reappointments to the City of Gladstone's boards and commissions. Is there any discussion? To each of you, I say thank you. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the new appointments and reappointments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The appointments then have been approved. And now we move on to comments from our City Council members, and I'll begin with Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our last meeting for December, so I'd just like to wish Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone.
Thank you. Gosh. Councilmember Spallo.
Well, I would like to do the same. It's been a fantastic year for our city and for all of the employees, all the work that has been completed, the new projects that are on the horizon, the change in our police department and fire department. Congratulations to our chiefs and for all of the strides that you've made here in the last 3 months. It's been fantastic. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, and I know that the 5 of us are very excited to support you in those endeavors, and we look forward to 2022.
Thank you. Councilman Frisbee.
Well, Mayor, I had that whole speech that she just gave laid out just word for word. I would just want to echo those same thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Garnis.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Oh, all right. You have to mark the calendar.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Well, I'd like to thank our City Council members and the city staff who worked to ensure the lighting of the Mayor's Christmas tree was a huge success. I'd like to thank my speechwriter, Councilmember Moore. Some of her words, which were heartfelt, were used during that evening. It was a beautiful evening. We had great weather. We had a very energetic MC, and a huge thank you for everybody who supported the 3 nonprofits. Feed Northland Children, Gladstone Neighbors Helping Neighbors, and the Northland Christmas Store. And our chairperson here from the Northland Christmas Store, Tina, thank you for what you've done to help kids and families.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Also, congratulations to Dominic and his staff for the recent audit of the city resources and finances. And then, just like everybody has said, we'd like to wish everybody a very happy and a very safe holiday season. We move on to our city manager, Mr. Wingerson.
Mayor, thank you very much. Good evening, City Council. There's two pots of federal funds that the city qualified for related to COVID. The first was CARES. About a year ago, we received $2.5 million, and as the council knows, we used that money to do small business grants, help residents with utility bills, PPE for our personnel, and other qualifying expenses related to COVID. We also received about a few months ago $2.7 million of a projected $5.4 million of ARPA funds. Those funds that we currently received are in a side account and a holding account, waiting for the federal government to issue their final ruling on how those monies can be used. As soon as they do that, we'll be to you with some recommendations on how best to apply those funds to benefit the community. I'd like to thank Assistant City Manager Bear for stepping up last week or 10 days or so as clerk, and tonight it's not an easy thing, so I appreciate that. City Hall will be closed on the 23rd and 24th for the Christmas holiday, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is an ordinance amending Title IX of the City of Gladstone, Missouri Code of Ordinances by repealing certain provisions contained therein and enacting in lieu thereof new provisions designed as Title IX relating to the construction and maintenance of structures and property within the city and designated as the Building and Construction Ordinance for the City of Gladstone, Clay County, Missouri.
Mayor Malms.
Councilman Frisbee.
I move to place bill number 21-38 on its first reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to place bill number 21-38 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of placing bill number 21-38 on its first reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Mr. Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading, bill number 21-38, an ordinance amending Title IX of the City of Gladstone, Missouri Code of Ordinances by repealing certain provisions contained therein and enacting in lieu thereof new provisions designated as Title IX relating to the construction and maintenance of structures and property within the city and designated as the Building and Construction Ordinance for the City of Gladstone, Clay County, Missouri.
Mayor Malms.
Councilman Frisbee.
I move to place I move to accept the first reading of bill number 21-38, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of bill number 21-38, waive the rule, place the bill on its second and final reading. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of placing bill number 21-38 on its second and final reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Mr. Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading, bill number 21-38, an ordinance amending Title IX of the City of Gladstone, Missouri Code of Ordinances by repealing certain provisions contained therein and enacting in lieu thereof new provisions designated as Title IX relating to the construction and maintenance of structures and property within the city and designated as the Building and Construction Ordinance for the City of Gladstone, Clay County, Missouri.
Mayor Malms.
Councilman Frisbee.
I move to accept the second and final reading of bill number 21-38 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.574.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of bill number 21-38 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.574. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Malms.
Councilmember Moore.
I just want to thank Mr. Napoli and everybody involved in his department for pulling this together. This has been a long slog, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it's multi pages. So I know that's not easy, and I just want to say a special thank you for all your efforts.
Any further discussion?
She took the words out of my mouth.
Okay. Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spallo.
Aye.
Councilman Frisbee.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garnos.
Aye.
Mayor Malams.
Aye. Bill number 21-38 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.574. 12th item on the agenda is the first reading of Bill number 21-39, that being an ordinance approving the Show Me Courts Agreement with the Office of State Courts Administrator and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement.
Mayor Mellons,
Councilmember Spallo.
I move to place bill number 21-39 on its first reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to place bill number 21-39 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of placing bill number 21-39 on its first reading signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Mr. Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading, Bill number 21-39, an ordinance approving the Show Me Courts Agreement with the Office of State Courts Administrator and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement.
Mayor Mellons,
Councilmember Spallo.
I move to accept the first reading of bill number 21-39, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of bill number 21-39, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of placing bill number 21-39 on its second and final reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Mr. Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading, Bill number 21-39, an ordinance approving the Show Me Courts Agreement with the Office of State Courts Administrator and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement.
Mayor Mellons,
Councilmember Spallo.
I move to accept the second and final reading of bill number 21-39 and enact it as ordinance number 4.575.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Mayor Mellons,
Mayor Pro Tem Garnis.
I have a question when I read through the packet on this. Why is this not a violation of the Hancock Amendment? I thought Jeff City was not supposed to pass things that were going to require expenditures on the municipal level. Is it because this is a judicial thing, or is it because we just pass it along as a court cost that makes those provisions not apply, or?
Well, let's ask our council or city manager.
Sorry for the boring question, but.
No, it's a good question. I don't know that I can answer it completely. It is a requirement, as I understand it, that we convert to the Show Me Court system. They did. The next item on the agenda is for the court costs to cover that at the state level, but they aren't, under the Hancock Amendment, allowed to impose unfunded mandates on us, and maybe Dominic has some additional information, but I don't know if technically we could choose to not participate in it, and that's the out, so to speak. But we can get a better, I can work on getting a better answer for you.
I was just curious, it seemed like an unfunded mandate, although it's coming from the judiciary instead, and, it gets passed on to, as court costs, but just curious. Thank you.
Court costs, yes. And just for information, the municipal courts have implemented a new software program over the past couple of years. The main advantage is that all municipal courts then will be operating under a uniform platform, which definitely is an advantage. Costs will come from increase in court costs and increase in citation costs. Okay, let's see. It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of bill number 21-39 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.575. Any further discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spallo.
Aye.
Councilman Frisbee.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garnos.
Aye.
And Mayor Mellons.
Aye. Bill number 21-39 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.575. The next item on the agenda is the first reading of bill number 21-40. That is an ordinance amending Chapter 125 of the Municipal Code of Ordinances of the City of Gladstone, Missouri by adding Section 1.255.380 regarding court costs for Show Me Courts.
Mayor Mallum.
Councilmember Moore.
I move to place Bill number 21-40 on its first reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to place Bill number 21-40 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of placing Bill number 21-40 on its first reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Mr. Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading, Bill number 21-40, an ordinance amending Chapter 125, Municipal Court of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gladstone, Missouri by adding Section 1.255.380 regarding court costs for Show Me Courts.
Mayor Mallum.
Councilmember Moore.
I move to accept the first reading of Bill number 21-40, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of Bill number 21-40, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of placing Bill number 21-40 on its second and final reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Mr. Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading, Bill number 21-40, an ordinance amending Chapter 125, Municipal Court of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gladstone, Missouri by adding Section 1.255.380 regarding court costs for Show Me Courts.
Mayor Mallum.
Councilmember Moore.
I move to accept the second reading of Bill number 21-40 and enact it as Ordinance 4.576.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 21-40 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.576. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spallow.
Aye.
Councilman Frisbee.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garnos.
Aye.
And Mayor Mallums.
Aye. Bill number 21-40 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.576. The 14th item on the agenda is an ordinance, Bill number 21-41, authorizing the City of Gladstone, Missouri to issue its taxable industrial development revenue bonds for the Parkside Investors Project, Series 2021, in a principal amount not to exceed $35,380,000 to finance the costs of project for Parkside Investors, LLC, a Missouri limited liability company consisting of constructing and improving real property, approving a plan for an industrial development project for the company, inviting affected taxing districts to submit comments to the City Council no later than December 13th, 2021, for a fair and due consideration by the City Council, authorizing certain documents, and authorize certain other actions in connection with the issuance of the bonds. Before proceeding further, I'd like to ask, and I don't see any representatives from the affected taxing districts, if they would like to address the City Council.
Mayor Mallums.
Mr. City Manager Wingerson.
Thank you, sir. I'd just like to point out that Rick McConnell's here, our bond counsel, if you have any questions.
For our City Council members, do you have any questions?
Do we want his comments after the second reading or now?
We can take his comments right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rick McConnell with the Armstrong Teasdale Law Firm. My first comment is the finance director wants that brick. So his. But a pleasure to be here, as always. And I think if I'm not here a couple times a year to talk to you about a transformative project for Gladstone. It's kind of a slow year. So we barely made it, but we've had a couple this year. So again, pleased to be here. But this is the typical type of Chapter 100 transaction that we've seen before in terms of structure, where the city will actually take ownership of the project to effect tax abatement. And we've got a kind of a big number there in that ordinance. But this really is not a financing vehicle. It is a tax abatement vehicle. But it's the vehicle that we have under Missouri law in non-blighted areas to do tax abatement. And so we create this structure that affects that. The $35 million is their projected project cost. Very significant project, high-quality project, high-quality developer. As always, have to compliment the staff. Scott, Bob, Austin, I think I saw Austin back there, you know, kind of led the way on the negotiations, and they kind of hand it to us and say document it, and it's pretty easy stuff. But good group of developers to work with on this and their counsel, so wanted to compliment them as well. I think with that, just would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and we're ready to put another one in the books here. So,
thank you. May I receive a motion to place Bill number 21-41 on its first reading?
Mayor Mellons.
Councilmember Spallo.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. This is it's a bill. I move to place Bill number 21-41 on its first reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to place Bill number 21-41 on its first reading. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of placing Bill number 21-41 on its first reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Mr. Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading, Bill number 21-41, an ordinance authorizing the City of Gladstone, Missouri to issue its taxable industrial development revenue bonds, Parkside Investors Project, Series 2021, in a principal amount not to exceed $35,380,000 to finance the costs of a project for Parkside Investors, LLC, a Missouri limited liability company, consistent of constructing and improving real property, approving a plan for an industrial development project for the company, inviting affected taxing districts to submit comments to the City Council no later than December 13, 2021, for fair and due consideration by the City Council, authorizing certain documents, and authorizing certain other actions in connection with the issuance of the bonds.
Thank you.
Mayor Mellons.
Councilmember Spallo.
I move to accept the first reading of Bill number 21-41, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of Bill number 21-41, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of placing Bill number 21-41 on its second and final reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ms. Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading, Bill number 21-41, an ordinance authorizing the City of Gladstone, Missouri to issue its taxable industrial development revenue bonds, Parkside Investors Project, Series 2021, in a principal amount not to exceed $35,380,000 to finance the cost of the project for Parkside Investors, LLC, a Missouri limited liability company, consisting of constructing and improving real property, approving a plan for an industrial development project for the company, inviting affected taxing districts to submit comments to the City Council no later than December 13th, 2021 for fair and due consideration by the City Council, authorizing certain documents, and authorizing certain other actions in connection with the issuance of the bonds.
Thank you.
Mayor Mellons. I move to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 21-41 and enact it as ordinance number 4.577.
Second.
Is there any discussion? It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of Bill number 21-41 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.577. Any discussion?
Mayor Mellon.
Councilmember Moore.
I just want to say that it feels like we do this pretty often, but this is really exciting. I mean, this brand new $35 million project that in an area of the city that has not had much development. And so I do think that this is, it's exciting that we have the opportunity to do this, and it's going to be exciting for the residents of Gladstone. So support this project.
Councilmember Stallo.
And I'd also like to point out that a project of this magnitude would not be here in our city if it wasn't for our city staff and for our city manager. And so congratulations to you for this type of development in Gladstone, and we look forward to working with these folks.
Wonderful. Any further discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Spallo.
Aye.
Councilman Frisbee.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Garnes.
Aye.
And Mayor Mallons.
Aye. Bill number 21-41 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.577. The next item on tonight's agenda is consider approving the building permit for the Parkside at Hobby Hill, 7510 North Oak Traffic Way. May I receive a motion?
Mayor. Go ahead.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Garnes.
I move that we approve the building permit for Parkside at Hobby Hill.
Second.
Wonderful. It's been moved and seconded to approve the building permit for Parkside at Hobby Hill, 7510 North Oak Traffic Way. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving building permit signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The building permit for Parkside at Hobby Hill is hereby approved. Any other business for this evening? I'd like to extend a thank you out to Larry Whitten, and as I go around the room, Pete Hall, Jason, thank you for being here, Mike Evanroth, Kim Murch, and Chad. They all serve on boards and commissions for our city, and thank you for being here. And I didn't know how to address you, Mr. Bear. I didn't know if it was Mr., because typically it's a madam, and I knew that wasn't right. So thank you for filling in. No other business. We stand adjourned for this evening. Is it Mr.? I don't.